So Shavkat manages to submit Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in the second round. And it was one of the most impressive performances that I've seen in a long time. Now, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson generally is a very game fighter. He's someone who generally stays on point in terms of his heart. This has never been a guy that's been cowardly or anything like that, right? And to be fair, before the fight, I did mention that I thought the best advantage that Shavkat has is to submit him, because in terms of striking, I felt like on the striking front, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson might have an advantage over him. But when it came to striking, Shavkat didn't seem out of his league. He seemed like he was in there. Like, he seemed like he was on point. And he seemed like he was a fighter that looked like he's prepared in every asset of his game. So he prepared his striking, he prepared his submissions. And to be honest with you, within the first 30 seconds, he already got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson already up against the cage. So it's not like he was hiding his intentions. Like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson knew what was going to happen. It kind of reminds me of Khabib. Everyone knows what Khabib's about to do before he does it. But for some reason, they just can't stop it. And it's the same with Shavkat. Shavkat grappling is quite impressive, and he was on him like hot glue. He just could not get rid of him. It was like black oil. He just could not get rid of him. There's been many times when he tried going into the center of the ring and he tried striking with him, but Shavkat's striking is quite impressive. Like, I'm not saying he's the best striker in the UFC or anything like that. He's not like an Anderson Silva or anything, but for the fact that he's a submission grappler, his striking is quite impressive. And it just seems like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson generally in fights was always seen as the taller, lankier guy. Like, he always seemed like he had more range, and that's why he had an advantage over his opponents generally. But against Shavkat dwarfed him. Like, he was taller and leaner, and he looked like he had more range as well. Honest to God, it was quite impressive. The first round, he did have him against the cage most of the time, and he did almost get him into a position. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson threw a kick, and he grabbed his leg and such. And from then on, it looked like Stephen was just like proper tentative. He didn't want to commit to anything. And then in the second round, he obviously got him up against the cage and started wailing on him, and he managed to secure the submission. There was a 10-second counter that went off, and it looked like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson could have waited 10 seconds, but just before the round was over, in the second round, he tapped, and he essentially submitted himself against Shavkat. Now, Shavkat looked impressive in there. Honest to God, he's got 100% finish rate. I think he's got like 9 submissions and 7 KO wins. So he's very well rounded. So his striking is good. I would say his grappling is better than his striking, but his striking's not bad. And he looked like he was very confident in there. He looked like he could have taken on anyone. Honest to God, I think this is a notice for everyone that's in the welterweight division. This guy is an absolute monster. Like, if he fought Colby yesterday, the way Colby looked against Leon Edwards, I think he would have beaten him. That's how impressive he looked. I mean, this guy is an absolute monster. Everyone mentions, obviously, they mention Khamzat Chimaev, and both of them are put together. But obviously, Khamzat Chimaev has a much better resume. He's beaten Gilbert Burns. He's beaten Usman. But in terms of ability, I actually think Shavkat might be better than Khamzat. I know that sounds controversial. Obviously, Khamzat's got a better resume, and he's already been tested on the highest level to some extent. Even though these fighters that he fought, they were slightly past it. Like, Usman was slightly past it, and so was Gilbert Burns. Gave a very good performance. I don't think he was past it, but he didn't fight fighters when they're at their absolute peak. But what I would say is Shavkat hasn't been tested like that. But in terms of ability-wise, he looks very impressive. I actually think like he could easily be he could beat Khamzat. I'm not saying it would be an easy fight. It would be a very good game fight, but I think he could beat him. I think he's got the ability to beat him, and I think he's a very tall, lanky guy, so he can go up to middleweight as well. There's another fighter that's in the mix. I think his name's called Bo Nickel. Bo Nickel, Khamzat Chimaev, and Shavkat. Them three, they're known to be wrestlers, so I think that they should be in the mix with each other. Like, hopefully the UFC makes them fight each other. But honest to God, I see this guy as a problem. He's an absolute problem. I think he's going to get... That was a ranking fight. I think Stephen Wonderboy Thompson was ranked 6th and he was 5th. So I think he's going to go up in the ranking. If he gets one more win, I think he might potentially get a title shot. This guy looks like an absolute animal. And honest to God, I think yesterday he put the entire welterweight division on notice. I don't know anyone that's going to fight this guy. And the thing I love about him is that he's authentic. Like, this is not a guy who's going to try to be the most charismatic fighter or the guy that's going to pick up the mic and try to speak English and try to come across to the Western audience. This guy, I don't think he cares about any of that. This guy's just pure. He just wants to win. And to some extent, I know fighters say you have to sell yourself and you have to be you have to be interesting to actually win to win over the crowd. But I think with Shavkat, he's more interesting because we don't know that much about him. Like, he seems like a mysterious type figure. He seems like he's a guy, because he doesn't speak English and he's completely dominating these fighters. He seems like a fighter that has a sense of mystery around him, because he has that. To some extent, paradoxically, it will make fighters more intrigued in him, as opposed to if he was this talkative guy. Not a lot of fighters have charisma, but I think he should just stay how he is, because it makes him more intriguing in a sense. If this guy comes and he beats Khamzat Chimaev, everyone's going to be like, who is this guy? And he's already got the notice of a lot of these fighters. I took notice of him several fights back when he fought Jeff Neal or Magny, one of them. And he looked impressive in there the way he submitted him. So, yeah, in my opinion, this guy's an absolute problem. I think he's an absolute animal, and the whole UFC welterweight division and the middleweight division should be on notice. This guy's a problem, and I think in a couple of fights he's going to contend for the welterweight championship. If I was Leon Edwards, I'd be looking closely at this guy and trying to formulate a game plan to beat this guy before I fight him, and probably prepare to fight someone of his caliber. Maybe get in there and start sparring the likes of the Khamzat Chimaevs of the world, or the Bo Nichols, because it can prepare you for an opponent like this. Because I think this guy's coming and he's going to cause a lot of problems. I mean, this guy's got 100% finish rate, and I think he might be kind of underrated, because he doesn't have the charisma of a Khamzat Chimaev or these other fighters coming up. People are underestimating him. They're not mentioning him as much, and he seems like a dark horse in the division, in the sense that hardcore fans know him, but casuals don't know him. But this is definitely one fighter to watch in the future. Tell me what you think below about him. I think he's an absolute animal, and I'm looking forward to his next fight. I'm hoping in 2-3 fights he gets a title shot, because I think he's a problem and he could win the title. Tell me what you think below, and how do you think he'll do against Khamzat Chimaev? Like and subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more content coming your way. Peace.